we have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Welcome to another episode of Chronicles on the Fly. And this time it's just the two of us again. Remember when it was just the two of us?
Yes.
It hasn't been that way for a few episodes, has it?
Yeah, it hasn't actually. No, it hasn't.
Got rid of that brother of yours.
Yeah. Now I might get an opinion in. That's correct.
Where is he anyway? What's he doing?
Oh, it's got a few clients at the moment. So, how you been?
So, yeah, I've been all right. Just, plugging away at work, same old.
It's good to see.
A little bit distracted a bit last week from the big event happening in the US.
What an event, eh? What an event.
Yes. And we're getting 4 more years of Donald Trump.
I don't think so.
Mark my words, we're getting 4 more years of Donald Trump. All right? I said it here.
Mm.
Did you watch that video that I sent you earlier today?
No, I haven't.
He ain't going nowhere, boy.
Well, we wait and see. We'll wait and see. What's the name? There was a thing come out today that said that there's no chance that there was any election. Was it Department of Homeland Security? I think it was.
No chance of any election fraud.
No, there's no chance of election fraud. There was no interference. So I thought that was interesting.
How can they say that there was no interference?
I don't know.
I mean, people have come forward and sworn affidavits, and saying that they saw it.
Yeah.
They saw. I mean, who knows if it's enough to change an election? But there's definitely some elements of it. There's probably some element of it in every single election they've ever had, even if it's minuscule. But there's got to be some. People telling stories of dead people voting, ballots sent to people when they've moved state, but they get ballots sent to them from their old address.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And things like that. So that means they get numerous ballots that they can mail in, things like that. And this is widespread stories. So it's a mess. It's a complete mess. Their electoral system over there.
It is. But that's the way the system is. One thing I would like to say, and I'd like to make it very clear. Thank God, and I didn't really respect him, but now I respect him immensely. The Australian Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
My God.
We know the results at every night of an election, don't we? I don't think has there ever been an occasion, state or federal vote in Australia since you've been alive that you can remember that has gone overtime? I can't think of any.
Not to that level. Not to that level.
No, but I mean overtime as in you didn't know that night what the result was.
No.
Actually, I think about 10 years ago there was a WA election where it went overnight. Yeah, if I remember right, and it went into the next day, the counting. But I think like the next morning or something there was.
But it was not like this. Not to this level. Not far from this level. But
this is insane.
This is insane. And like I've just got a newfound respect. It's not even our. We use obviously the preferential system of voting. They use the electoral college. Some other countries use first past the post, but it's not even so much the system of voting. It's more the process of voting, which I've got an utmost respect for our Australian electoral
and the process of counting. I think,
yeah, well, that's that whole
is much better.
Absolutely.
I mean, over there, other stories are like, because each party has their representatives like overseeing the count, and stories of, Republican officials not allowed to watch the counts. They're being moved out of the rooms of the counting areas, and the Democrat people inside, like who counting the vote, cheering and things like that. Crazy
stuff.
Crazy. Seems like a lot of bias going on, but this was going to happen, and I think it was always going to happen. All right, they knew it was coming, and Hillary Clinton, weeks before the election, she said Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances. She said this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if this had happened against the Democrats, or not against, but in favor of Republican,
The GOP, they call them.
Grand Old Party, yes. But if it had been called in favor, because it's been called by the media, and that's it.
Yep.
If it had been called in favor of Trump, Biden would not have conceded either by now because of the closeness, right? So they knew it was going to be close, and they knew that that neither of them were going to concede.
Mm.
And anyway, Trump is not going anywhere. Trump will be the president for the next 4 years, all right?
That's your opinion. Oh, look, I think you'll concede.
It's my opinion,
I
right?
think you'll concede.
And the reason why, I don't think he'll concede. And that is the reason why he'll be president, because he won't concede.
Yeah, but the thing that happened after January 20th, he's no longer the president, and the new president has to get sworn in. If they haven't elected one, the president will be Nancy Pelosi, leader of the House.
If he doesn't concede, the vote is cast aside, and this is in their constitution, Mel.
Yeah.
If he doesn't concede because of and they don't get a result from courts and blah blah blah, and he doesn't concede, the vote is cast aside and it goes to the House of Representatives. The House of, and it's as if the vote never happened. It goes to the House of Representatives, but it's not by delegates; it's by states, right? So if it's by delegates, Democrats have the most. It favors the Democrats. But if it goes because of the electoral college system, but the votes for to nominate or elect the president goes by states, and the states favor the Republicans, 37 to 13.
Jeez, that's pretty interesting.
So obviously, even if some of them defect because they don't like the situation, let's say all he needs is 26 Republicans out of those 37 states to say we elect Donald Trump, and that's it. He is the president for the next 4 years. So that's why I'm saying he's not conceding. Joe Biden wouldn't have conceded either, but he's not conceding, and it's going to go to the House of Representatives, and at least 26 Republican states are going to elect Donald Trump for another 4 years. And you know what else? They're going to be the worst riots in the history of America. You think that earlier the last few months was bad? It will be nothing. There's going to be the worst riots, and I'm telling you, militias on both sides are ready, and they're going to be killing each other in the streets over this. That's my opinion, and don't forget that I said it. We'll come back to it when it starts happening, but I reckon that that's what's happening.
I personally think he will concede, personally. That's just my opinion.
What? Why? When he knows the law is in his favour in this way. They've got a loophole basically in their constitution that allows this.
Yeah, but
the concession is a formality, right? It's a tradition. That's all it is. But it's not in the constitution that you have to concede. You watched that video that I sent you earlier today. It's incredible.
Well, my thing is, I think he will upset just as many Republicans if he does that as he is Democrats.
Doesn't matter. All he needs to do is get the approval of 26 of them.
But America's the land of the free, and that's half a tyrant dictator.
But his reasoning will be that they committed election fraud, they stole the election, and I'm telling you, I've been saying it since the election that they're stealing this. It's bullshit. You can't get, stop the election, stop the counting in 4 states at 60-something% of the count because your candidate is way behind. So you stop the count at around 60-something%, and then overnight, 4 o'clock in the morning, 100 or 200,000 new ballots get dumped, and they are 100% of them for Biden. Give me a break, please. That's just not on, mate.
Look, I'm not saying that the sign doesn't need to be investigated.
There's some dodgy shit going on there, mate. That's insane. Recount has been ordered in Georgia and Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, that's where the biggest problem is Pennsylvania.
The order is that a number of ballots need to be cast aside. In other words, not counted because they're compromised.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Who knows?
Who knows? We have interesting times ahead. I think it will get sorted out by the Supreme Court before January 20th. That's just my opinion.
they should be able to trust the Supreme Court. However, Donald Trump has stacked it in his favour. It's six Republican or 6 Conservatives to 3 Liberals, I think, in the Supreme Court. So they might vote 6-3 and he wins. So I reckon it's in his favour at the moment.
We'll wait and see.
I watched this documentary on Foxtel called 537 Votes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the 2000 election between Bush and Gore. Okay? Now, that is bloody interesting. Basically, that came down to only one state in disputes to tip them over the 270 mark, and that was Florida, right? So on the night of the election, Gore called Bush to concede, okay, because the Democrats thought that it was over.
Yep.
However, then it turned out that it was much closer than they thought, so they went to the courts, okay, ordered recounts and blah, 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 and then the vote dwindled down, and then it turned into Bush's favour, and it turned out Bush won in the end by 537 votes. So Gore pretty much conceded twice, I suppose. Yeah, but but you watch that documentary, and what's happening now is almost a mirror image, but to the nth degree, right? But there are so many similarities with what happens. That was 2000, wasn't it? So 20 years ago. Yeah, go watch that documentary when you got a chance. It's eerie, the similarities.
Interesting, very.
Oh, yes, we're living in interesting times. And I'm telling you, mate, there is going to be killing in the streets over there.
One thing I don't disagree with, one thing I don't think is a good look is all the leaders of the world congratulating President-elect Joe Biden when technically he hasn't conceded, or Trump hasn't conceded, or hasn't been official, because don't the states have to do something to the vote to endorse the vote?
So each state needs to, what's the word? Ratify their vote or whatever it's called, right? Not one has done that so far, okay? So that's why I say the election has been called by the media, and that's it so far. The election is in the balance big time, right? So the world's forgetting about it already. And then all of a sudden this news is going to come out. Donald Trump is still the president for the next 4 years. You watch.
And like, you know what else was quite funny? That the streets were boarded up and ready for a Trump victory. But
yeah, and the Republicans didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So all these people saying, "Oh, it's both sides."
We've got a bit of egg on their face now. And the other thing I don't like is that social justice warrior AOC there calling that all the names of Trump donors and Trump workers to be a record to be kept.
Everyone who supported him in his administration, and even just people who publicly admitted to supporting him, their names should be taken and put on a list. All right, mate. Talk about fascism, huh? She's disgusting.
That's fascism at its best. That's what total fascism is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. George Orwell should have called his book 2020, not 1984. Seriously. No, she's just the worst of the worst.
I think, like I said, I'm not left, not right. I'm pretty much in the middle. I think most people are. And
why do people say this? Don't bullshit to me.
No, but I'm very social. Like, I believe in, like, a lot of leftist ideologies when it comes to education and health. I do. I'm I'm pro-immigration, very pro-immigration.
All right, fair enough. But in general, you are a centre-right.
I'm centre-right, but
and that doesn't mean far right-wing extremist nut job. That's completely different.
No. Far from it. Because
that's just conservative. That's just having conservative values, right? There's nothing wrong with it.
I actually did the chart, the who would you vote for, and I came up as a libertarian. On
the ABC's website.
There's one of these. Who do you vote for? And I came up as a libertarian.
Yeah. I remember I did that once on the ABC had one on their website, and I was conservative.
Well, I was libertarian.
So your values, they're your values.
Because, like I was saying, I have conservative values, but when it comes to traditionally your what you say left wing topics, immigration, education, and healthcare, I'm very I do believe in health.
I can't stand people, and it's a lot of time people, in media or who have public profiles who are conservative leaning, but they're scared to admit it, right? And they'll say that they're a centrist instead. And you see that a lot, and I can't stand that. That's bullshit. Fight for your values, Be proud of your values. It doesn't mean that you're a Nazi Hitler.
No.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you need both. You have to recognize the need for both sides of
absolutely
political thought. Okay,
absolutely.
It's the yin and the yang. The yin and the yang. You're supposed to keep each other in check, right? If everybody was right leaning, then you'd tend further and further right. Okay,
yeah.
and you'd end up with a fascist state. If everyone was left leaning, you'd tend further and further left, and you'd end up with
a socialist state,
which is what you have is becoming anyway, because conservatism has been so shamed. You end up with the socialist communist state. The left has gone way further to the left worldwide, and we're seeing it here in Australia too, with all this identity nut job politics being playing out. It's not common sense. Anyway,
what do you do?
Them's are my thoughts.
I don't like how all these leaders of the countries have congratulated, like I was saying, Biden. I think there's a bit wrong. You know what I mean?
What I loved about that was that everyone did it all at the same time. All these leaders, it was like with a matter of hours of each other. It's like, you can't be seen to be not on board,
except for the president of Mexico. That was a beauty. That one.
Mexico, of all places,
out of all countries,
the one who has to pay for the wall,
the one they're supposed to hate the most.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's the one saying, "No, I'm not congratulating anyone until
the process plays out." Yep.
I actually found that hilarious. I was like, "That is amazing."
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, that's just the definition of irony.
I'm just blown away. I was like, "Are you serious?" I would expect that. See, like the other thing is like President Maduro, what's his name? Maduro from Venezuela, congratulated him. Iran, the guy, the leader from Iran. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought, oh.
And China just laughing all the way.
Oh, they're really
they're having a field day with it.
China is.
I think it's hilarious. I saw on Twitter, like their news outlets literally wrote like an official news. Must be a media outlet or newspaper or something on Twitter. Their official page wrote "ha ha 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 ha."
Yeah,
as a response to the election. Oh, that's hilarious.
That was actually pretty funny, actually.
I just love the hypocrisy of Kamala Harris. Not just her, the hypocrisy of Joe Biden and this aura around Joe Biden in general. Right, because they've been playing, Trump off as this ultra racist, fascist, racist person, whatever. However, he increased his votes among every single minority. Okay, so black people, Asian people, females. Not that females are a minority, but groups, Hispanics. His vote increased from 2016 for all these groups, and the only one that was decreased was for white men. I mean, doesn't that tell you everything?
Yeah, it does,
right? So all these groups, know that all the rhetoric around, not all, but 90% of the rhetoric around Trump, that the media's narrative about him is bullshit, and white men have been shamed no end, right? The white men are the evil people in society these days, and at the end of the day, it works. Shaming them works because look what they've done. They've turned their back on him.
Now the other one was what I find kind of like, what's the word? Not like contradicting was the Democratic Party always talked about a party of being unique and diverse and different, and they were riding against an old white man. And then who do they put up as their candidate? An old white man.
Well, they were going for either Bernie, an old white man, or Biden, an old white man. So, but Biden is the one with his almost 50 years in politics with the track record of racism. But it's just conveniently ignored, right? He's put policy in place to basically put the boot on the back of the neck of black people, you know, policies and laws to keep them in jail for longer. And there was one where they were going through the Democrat primaries to choose the nominee for president from the Democrat side, and Kamala Harris went after Biden.
Oh yeah, that she did.
Right? Because she's a woman of color, right? And she went after him because whenever it was in the 80s or I think maybe 70s, he introduced there was a bill or something to introduce busing, right? So from poorer outer suburbs of cities to bus poor kids basically into the inner city schools. Okay, so the poorer outer suburbs means black people mainly, right, at that time. And he was against this, and so he was pro-segregation, basically.
Really?
Okay, because he was against yes, because he was against this policy.
Okay, yeah.
He was pro-segregation, right? Maybe not in so many words, but in effect. And she went after him because of this, and said that affected so many people, and it affected a little white girl. It affected a little black girl at the time, and that black girl was me. That's what she said to him.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. And also, Joe Biden was accused by a very credible woman, from what I can tell, of sexual abuse as well. Okay. I don't know what's come of those accusations, whether there's any court case pending or whatever, but she was accused, and this woman's been on 60 Minutes and everything like that. So, and she was asked before being nominated as vice president her opinion on this about Biden. And she said, yes, she believes all women and Joe Biden should have to answer for it. Okay. But then when Biden selected her as his vice president running mate after Biden got the nomination, she conveniently put those things aside, his racism and sexual abuse allegations, and happily accepted the nomination, the request to be his VP, right? And the reason why let's be honest, the reason why he chose her is because one, she's a woman, two, because she's a woman of color. And it's just that identity politics at play, right? She ticks the boxes for the woke brigade.
Yep, okay? She sure does.
Whether she's the most qualified person for it, it's probably not the second consideration. Ticking those boxes is the first for the Democrats, and that's just gross to me. It's not based on merit, but more than that is the hypocrisy.
Because there was actually on YouTube where she was tearing him, like going off at him. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was during the Democrat primary debates. Yeah, she ripped him a new asshole over that, and then Tulsi Gabbard came and ripped her a new asshole in turn for her record on as a Attorney General keeping. I think what was the story?
I'm not saying about putting people away for marijuana violations.
Yeah, that's right. Someone had something about marijuana violation, and she was cracking down on it. And she had freely admitted on a radio show that she smoked marijuana and was laughing about it. So hypocrisy all round for Kamala Harris. But she's someone that we should revere, and our daughters should want to emulate her, and she's a role model. Bullshit. I would be showing my daughter this example when she's old enough to understand and say, this is someone you don't want to emulate, okay? Because this is someone who's a hypocrite, and you don't want to do that.
I didn't mind Tulsi, but she was pretty good, Tulsi.
Tulsi's a legend.
Yeah, Tulsi's a legend.
Tulsi's a legend, but she just doesn't have the profile. Not that Kamala Harris had a profile. And the other thing about Kamala Harris is she slept her way to the top.
Yeah.
Sorry to say it in such blunt terms, but she when she was involved in politics in California, in her 20s, she was seeing the mayor of LA, I think he was. Willie something, can't remember his name. But he was married. So she was having an affair with him. He was a married man and he had a bunch of women on the side for years and years and years. And I think that was just a deal he had with his wife. I don't know. But that's her morals. That's Kamala Harris's morals. And while they were seeing each other, he as mayor gave her a bunch of positions on boards, high-paying committee positions, earning hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's her morals. But, of course, the media doesn't bring that out because the media is just cheerleaders for the left side of politics. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's potentially, like I said, Donald Trump will have 4 more years, but who knows, right? There's potentially the next president after Biden hands the baton over.
I think Biden's definitely going to hand the baton over personally.
So if he definitely does get it and gets confirmed for the next president, do you reckon he'll hand it over before the next election?
I think that all depends on Miss Jill Biden, don't you?
What about her?
If Jill's ready to hand over the reins, because she'll be in the. I think Jill is actually the strong person in that relationship, so she might be the woman behind the man.
She's probably the one with much more mental acuity. Put it that way.
Well, she's the woman behind the man. She could be pulling the strings. So,
but wasn't that the case even with Reagan?
Towards the end of
his presidency,
yeah.
she was running the show, wasn't she? Because he was losing his mind.
That's right. Good old Ronnie, especially in the last year or so. Only Nancy had the full reins, and she seems pretty astute. Jill. Well, she's a doctor, so.
American politics is so much more interesting than ours here, isn't it?
And listen, I also got to have a dig at the media, right? Because what I find frustrating is like my daughter, who's 8 years old, who watches very little TV, but watches a little bit because I like watching. I like to watch TV when I'm having dinner and all that. And sometimes the project's on or just finish the news or whatever. And the only politician I said to my daughter, name me one politician. And the only person she said was Donald Trump. And I was like, I said, who's the Prime Minister of Australia? And she was like looking at me and like, that I found very frustrating. I was like, she should, like the schools and the media should be, what can I say? Why isn't the first politician she thinks of our leader?
So she's 8. What grade is she in?
She's year 3.
Year 3. Okay.
And in year 3, I definitely knew who the Prime Minister was, 100%. And I do recall in year 4 knowing all the premiers of all the states. Or was that year 5, sorry?
Okay, year 5. All right, that's 2 years away for her. Did you know that because you learned or talked about it at school, or because you talked about it at home with your parents?
I was probably at home with my dad because my dad we used to watch the news together, you know what I mean? And the media was more focused on, I believe, issues related to our country as opposed to what international affairs were. And bear in mind, the news was only half an hour anyway. Not like now, it's an hour broadcast where they got to jam-pack and rack-and-pack everything into an hour.
Now it's now the hour news is just more entertainment than anything. It's just nonsense. It's just tabloid crap mostly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's 8. It's probably better that she doesn't know, to be honest. Keep her mind off those things. She's a kid. Yeah, but
it's not so much even a kid. It's more like knowing who your leader is. Why would she know Donald Trump and not the leader of? And I think that's a reflection on A, the media, and B, the education system.
Well, I think it is a reflection on the media. Obviously, they just talk about him more than any other politician in the world, even over here.
I think that's wrong. But that's my opinion. My opinion. I think,
But you can always, have that conversation at the dinner table about,
Oh yeah, no. I have been. It's because I'm trying to like this. This is WA. This is our premier. He's Mar McGowan, and Australia as a country is Scott Morrison, and you try and just to teach him a little bit about Australian politics.
Speaking of our mate Basil, what do you reckon of his showing lately?
Oh well, he's Well, he put his foot into it, didn't he? He definitely put his foot into it.
I think he was trying to be a little bit jovial and funny on the radio, and didn't quite come off for him.
Well, it proves one thing: the world is brutal out there, and they're prepared to be brutal if you're going to be into that public life.
Do not wake the woke mob. They'll come after you relentlessly. And it has been relentless because he had the first Perth City Council meeting. So all these people after him went there and just hammered him with questions about, and he had to make more apologies and about, things he said against, what did he say exactly?
I didn't even hear the whole conversation, what he even apologised about.
That's right. He basically said the kindergarten cop line: boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
And I think there was something else he said after that as well, but I don't know what he said. That was the start of it, but I think it was the next part that was a bit.
I think all I heard was, if you've got a penis, then you're a man, and that's the end of it. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
What is funny is that it's controversial these days.
Mm-hmm.
Go back 10 years, maybe even 5 years. You said that, was like, oh, yeah, so whatever. And now that's so controversial. The way times have changed, though, it's classic. You can't say something like that because you're going to offend certain people who, think differently.
That's the world we live in. It's very, and the whole. You look at you look now, comedians of yesteryear. There's no way that Eddie Murphy would get away with saying this half the stuff he did on Raw right now, or Delirious.
No, I wonder if is it still on Netflix?
There's no way he would get away with Delirious. Oh my God, there's no way he'd get away with that on Delirious. And even like some Richard Pryor, he had some beauties. There was no way they'd get away with that.
Yeah, Richard Pryor. I've never seen a lot of Richard Pryor.
I've just seen little glimpses on things. They're funny. They're funny. Like,
my favourite comedian is George Carlin, who's died, 10 or so years ago. I don't know if you know much of him.
Yeah, he was brutal. Yeah, I remember him. Yep, he was in the movie Casino, wasn't he?
Casino.
I'm just see if it's the same guy I'm thinking of.
No, that's fuck. It'll come to me.
No, it's George Carlin. You know which one I'm talking about. Casino.
Eccles. No.
Yeah, that's him.
Something. It sounds like that.
He was
What's
funny.
His name?
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles, not Eccles.
Yeah.
Don Rickles. That's it, of course. I mean, George Carlin, I think, like, he would just call out bullshit on the world. And it's not so much that his delivery was hilarious. It's just that he made you think. He made the hypocrisy of the world stand out, and that was in a humorous way. But he wasn't like, fall off your chair funny. He's like, oh, fuck yeah, of course, that's funny. Right? More like that, if you know what I mean. But I just loved his comedy. And I still watch clips of him on YouTube and from time to time.
There's another one that was pretty. I don't mind Bill Burr. I think he's pretty funny.
Bill Burr's brilliant. Oh, he's one of the best going around at the moment.
Bill Burr's good.
Did you see his Saturday Night Live skit? He opened the Saturday Night Live show a few weeks back.
Oh, he copped a roasting for that, apparently.
Yeah, I'm surprised they actually let him say some of the stuff that he said. But go and watch that. Go and find
it. And there's another guy called Andrew Schultz.
I don't know that one.
You know what I like watching on YouTube sometimes videos of the best comebacks, the comedian comebacks. And he...
Who's good for that is that Pommy guy.
Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr?
Oh, yeah, fantastic. Hilarious.
Yeah. You can tell that he has rehearsed those comebacks in the mirror. You know what I mean? My favourite comedian at the moment is Sebastian Maniscalco.
Yeah, he's all right. He's
all right. He's brilliant.
Yeah, my wife loves him.
He is the best. I've watched pretty much everything he's done. He's great. Him and Bill Burr, they're probably my two favourite at the moment. Bill Burr's got a podcast as well that he does twice a week that I like to listen to. And it's just him. It's just him just rambling into the microphone, basically, about whatever comes to his mind. And he's very funny.
But even Donald Trump opens himself up too with these tweets. It's like, what do you expect?
He's an idiot. He's an idiot of a bloke, right? There's no two ways about it. Obviously, people have been in his ear and said, you've got to tone it down. From day one of his presidency, probably before he actually got elected, people, when he was running, would have said to him, you've got to tone it down, and he's just fired them, basically.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? If you have a look at the Donald Trump pre-16, the woke actually liked him, e.g. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. He was on Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon messed his hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Oprah Winfrey. I remember Oprah Winfrey years back. He was on Oprah, and she was almost like goading him into running for president. She kept asking him, have you thought about it? When are you going to do it? And he said no. You know what would have been better if he ran as a Democrat, because he used to support Democrats, right?
Well,
He was a donor to the Democrats, right? And Hillary Clinton and what's her husband there, Bill? They went to his wedding. They were all buddy. They're all. At the end of the day, it's just two sides of the same coin, all right? It's just one at the moment has far more extreme, woke ideas, or they blow with the wind, right? The Democrats, okay, right? They just go along with this identity politics stuff, whereas Donald Trump is completely against all that shit, and that's why they hate his guts. He doesn't want to become this, he doesn't like the progressive stuff, and that's why they hate his guts. Okay, because this building a wall stuff, and now we've gone full circle, go back to politics. But this, building a wall stuff, this is what the Democrats wanted to do. Bill Clinton, right? They were all about putting up walls. They were doing it. And Bill Clinton, you can go find speeches of Bill Clinton on YouTube talking about stopping immigration from Mexico and all this kind of stuff. All Donald Trump has done is adopt those Democrats' policies from 10, 20 years ago that they had anyway, but the way he talks about it is more crass. So he opens himself up to being ridiculed and criticized. But if he was able to reason, that's the thing with Donald Trump. He can't explain himself because all people hear is abuse. They think that he's so racist. He's not. He's actually not a racist person. He's probably not, an absolute clean skin when it comes to race. But, all this stuff about, he supports white supremacy and all this kind of bullshit. Since the time he was running for election in 2016, leading up to that, he was asked so many times, over and over again, since then up until today, do you disavow white supremacy? And every time he has said, yes, I do. You can go and find a compilation of all these responses on YouTube, and it'll probably last 10 minutes, all his responses. But the reason why they just keep pounding and keep asking is because just asking the question implies that he doesn't support equality or, among races or implies that he is racist and supports white supremacy. Just the mere fact that they keep asking him. That's the plan. That's the idea of the left-wing media. The left-wing media rigs the election in their own way, okay, by planting those seeds in the listeners' minds. It's all about divide and conquer, man. That's all it is.
Donald Trump actually got more votes than Obama. How's that far? You think he did, didn't he? Second highest ever.
How does Biden get more votes than Obama? All right. How? Sleepy Joe didn't come out of his basement. All right. Go to a couple rallies here and there, and there was 12 people in the crickets. Donald Trump goes to his rallies, and there's 20,000, maybe 10,000, but there's thousands. Biden didn't have thousands. People didn't go out for him. There was no hype around Biden, okay? Everyone was pumped up for Donald Trump. How does he get all these votes, Biden? How? I can't see it. How do you get more than Obama? Because remember 2008, the world was nuts for Obama.
Yeah, even in 12, they were nuts for him. The world's always been nuts for Obama.
How can you compare Obama to Biden? If Biden has really got all of these votes and there's not millions of bogus votes, if he's really got them all, then it's simply because of Trump hatred. It's not because of pro-Biden. It's because of Trump hatred.
Yeah, but in saying that, he's still got the second highest vote counter ever behind Biden. So how many people really actually hate him? So you can't say because they hate him.
Well, about 70-something million, 71 or 72 million love him.
That's right.
Okay, I shouldn't say love him. Just because you vote for someone doesn't mean you love him.
They voted for him.
How many actually, are cult followers absolutely love him? God, hopefully it's not that many. But it's definitely not 70-something million. They just tolerate his bullshit.
Tolerate because his policies aren't that bad, right?
They agree with the good things that he's done, and he has done some good things. Before the election, left-wing commentator on CNN, what's his name? Van Jones.
Yeah, Van Jones, yeah.
He actually said Trump has done some good things for the black community in America. This Van Jones actually worked during the last 4 years. I'm not sure exactly when, but he worked with the Trump administration on policy for, it might have been some sort of prison reform, if I remember correctly, but targeting, black people, to benefit black people or something like that. And he's in photos with Trump in the Oval Office with Trump's kids, Ivanka and Donald Jr., right, smiling and happy, playing all happy families. But then he's talking about leading up to the election, he's talking about also, as well as saying Trump did some good things, he's also talking about how Trump's a fascist and how we're going to go on.
Yeah, and he started crying when Joe Biden was elected.
Right, and when the media called it, he started crying. Fake tears, it was absolute elephant tears. It was ridiculous.
Even Tariq Nasheed,
he was putting that on, but
even Tariq Nasheed, who's a staunch anti-Trumper, he actually said that Trump didn't do some bad stuff, and
because he has done some good stuff. It's just that he doesn't do it in the manner that they like. Okay, he doesn't talk nicely. He doesn't play. He's not polished, and he's not nice. He's brash, and he puts people down, and he tweets stupid shit. You know what I mean? He doesn't care about getting people on side. So in that way, he's divisive, all right? In that way, he's divisive, you've got to admit, all right? Because he's dividing people between people who love that type of rhetoric and people who want a nice, encouraging, fatherly figure type of president. And that's what you see in Biden, maybe more like grandfatherly, but you know what I mean? Mr. Nice Guy. That's the image that he portrays and that the media portrays on his behalf. But if you look deeper into Biden, I mean, there's firstly the corruption where he's taken paychecks from Ukraine and that type of stuff, and his son. The son's not worth two bob, but he gets a plum job earning, was it $50,000 a month or something, whatever the details of whatever job it was, just so the Ukrainians could get access to Biden. Then there's the laptop stuff and all the pornography, the homemade pornography, I should say, of that's on there, and as well as emails outlining that prove corruption and everything. God knows what's happened with all of that.
That's gone. You're not even going to see that. That's finished.
Yeah. That was just covered up by the social media networks, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You notice on Facebook and Twitter, mainly Twitter. I don't know if you look at it, but pretty much anything that Trump tweets or that anyone tweets about, disputed votes and
it comes up. Even Instagram.
It's all either hidden and you've got to click an extra button. It's all censored, or there's a notice attached to the tweet saying, this election or whatever is, or this information is in dispute or whatever. And it's social media networks trying to run the show.
Yes, absolutely. They never liked Trump to start with anyway. They love Biden.
It's the woke agenda, mate. The woke agenda. Fun and games for all.
Yeah, unfortunately, see, Trump's his worst enemy is himself. And that's it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I said, Trump is an idiot. But if he just stopped tweeting stupid stuff, people would probably take him a little bit more. Okay, he's actually done good things. Instead, he actually sounds like some of those tweets. I'm like, really? Like, seriously? What are you tweeting about? We will win. We will win big.
It's insane.
If I was his media advisor, I'd smash his phone. I'd smash it. I'd delete his account.
Then you're out of a job.
So, I've saved the country. I've saved him to look like an idiot.
That's not going to save the country, mate. Could you, like I said, he's going to be there for the next 4 years, whether it's legitimately or because he completely refuses.
In my opinion, I don't think so.
But what I was going to say is, for the sake of the country, maybe it's best that he does go one way or the other.
Oh, I agree.
Whether he's able to do good things or not, for the sake of fucking human lives that are, potentially going to be lost, because there's going to be a civil war on the streets if he's still there. Maybe it's better that he's no longer the president, and it just, let Biden have it. Let him pass the torch to Harris. Get someone decent on the Republican side for 2024 and reset.
But if you look at what he's done, he's rejigged the whole Republican Party on his end. Look at those numbers; they're phenomenal. They dropped one seat in the Senate. They picked up like 5 or 6 in the House. They got more governors than they did before. So they picked up.
How does
more.
that happen?
I don't know.
How does that happen? How does so more people are voting for Biden as a president, but when it comes to the House of Representatives and the Senate, then they change their minds to pick the Republican side. Please, can we be realistic? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, but no. But
doesn't happen.
If you have a look, there's a group called the Lincoln Project. I don't know if you heard about it.
I've heard about it, but what are they? They're some anti-Trump group.
They're anti-Trump, but they're pro-Republican, but anti-Trump. His old advisor there, Scaramucci there, he was one. He's another one. Anti-Trump, but pro-Republican.
Oh yeah, because he got tossed out in the first year of Trump's.
He got first 11 days. He lasted
11 days. So he's been on a crusade ever since then because he can't handle the fact that he got dumped.
Well, he got put in after Sean Spicer because Sean Spicer retired or resigned. Then it was Scaramucci. He lasted 11 days. Then they put Sarah Huckabee Sanders in. And
then they got this Kayleigh McEnany after, and she's loving it, mate. She's a gun.
She's got a future in politics. I can tell you that much.
She is absolutely. She just gives it to the press. I love that about her.
She's a bulldog.
She goes after them because she knows that they're going after him and her. So good on her. I love watching her press conferences. The bits that I see here and there. Anyway, enough about politics.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up, mate.
All right. And we should put a disclaimer on all of that. We don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Absolutely not. And we're not we're absolutely not a thing, mate. You know what I mean?
But follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll find us at Chronicles on the Fly. Adios, amigo mío.
Ciao, buddy. Have a good one.
There was once upon a time that to be a Republican in this area of the country felt a little bit like being Gary Cooper in High Noon, outnumbered in a big way. But I remember the story of a fellow who was running for office as a Republican, and he was in a rural area and it wasn't known to be Republican, and he stopped by a farm to do some campaigning. And when the farmer heard he was a Republican, his jaw dropped and he said, "Wait right here till I go get Ma. She's never seen a Republican before." So he got her, and the candidate looked around for a podium from which to give his speech, and the only thing he could find was a pile of that stuff that Bess Truman took 35 years trying to get Harry to call fertilizer. So he got up on the mound, and when they came back, he gave his speech. And at the end of it, the farmer said, "That's the first time I ever heard a Republican speech." And the candidate said, "That's the first time I've ever given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform."